Let's set up a new game, Sejong of Korea. Um, so just get talking about what Sejong does. Sejong, the best thing about Sejong is the districts that it can build. The Siowon, which is the unique campus, it needs to be on a hill, um, and pretty much surrounding that Siowon with other districts that depletes it. So it will always have a plus four adjacency locked into it, but every time a district goes next to it, there'll be a negative penalty for the adjacency. So what that means is you want to be placing Suwons on hills and surrounding them with mines and farms, because every mine gives you an extra science and a farm gives you an extra food next to a CO1. And after surrounding them, you pretty much should not be doing anything, any other districts within adjacent to it. Um, which means it'll create like an interesting like city planning mechanic, which should be fun. I mean, it really depends on this kind of spawn and the land you have. Um, it The other benefit that Sejong specifically gets from the other Korean leader is every time you research the first technology in the era, you get double the science per turn as culture. Um, there is, I can totally see a way to min max that. Um, but yeah, but it's a buff. It's basically a culture boost that kind of because I expect that as Korea, the science will always be high, and double the science as culture every time you are like once per era essentially when that happens should keep our culture progressing pretty well. The Hwacha is the same as Seondok. The Hwacha is a decent unit, but um, I would say it's slightly superior to the Chinese Crouching Tiger. Although, I mean, this is a replacement for the field cannon, and the Crouching Tiger is a replacement for the crossbow, or not a replacement. It comes online at the same time as the crossbow. Um, it's useful, but it's not going to be great game altering. Um, Odds are high that it will be available to us because of our high science. It will be available to us earlier than other civilizations, which could kind of create um, a possibility of a timing push. But then, in as an offensive unit, it has a major um, demerit where you cannot move and attack on the same turn, which means it kind of functions akin to like catapults. Now, I don't know exactly how that will play with great generals. So, if you have a couple of great generals boosting the mobility of the unit, will that allow you to move and shoot at the same turn? I don't think it works with the Watchers, but the Watchers are a strong unit. So, like in defensive positions, they can pretty much hold their own. Um, I recently had a game as Caesar, where Korea was my neighbor, Sejong was my neighbor rather, and a couple of watchers completely decimated my offense. So yeah, so it's more of a defensive unit, I think. Um, that's pretty much it for the uniques of Sejong. This will be a DT game as has others as always. Standard game speed. The map type, I will be picking continents. I have a like when I'm playing continents, I usually end up picking wetlands just off the bat. I just love how the land looks like when with the wetlands map. I play eight civilization standard map. As far as game modes are concerned, because I don't expect to be warring as Sejong, but I mean, if war is thrust upon us, we will fight. Um, but it helps to have barbarian clans mode enabled, just so that you may be able to buy a decent enough defensive force in the early game and a attacking force in the mid game, or the early to the mid game. um, Culture is not going to be something that we push for, so monopolies and corporations, I'll keep it turned off. Heroes and legends, I am not going to pick it because it's very situational, and depending on who you get, it does add, like a little bit of value in the early game. If you try for a religious victory with reliquaries, it this can be pretty powerful. Um, but other than that, I am not. I don't have so too much fun with it. But I mean, that's the thing. If you end up with like some couple of OP heroes very early in the game, somebody like Hercules as your first hero, I mean, the game's over at that point in time because you can one turn districts. You pretty much are counting towards like three or four, whatever, free districts in your cities, and it's a game breaking mechanic. That kind of a catapult kind of just ensures that you will win outright. So I'm going to keep it turned off. Secret societies is something I'm thinking about enabling for this game, especially with Korea. Um, with Korea and with the Hermetic Order, it should be interesting. Um, so Hermetic Order is something I would go pick. Like Void Singers is pretty much what most of the AI just goes for default, and it does help towards a culture victory, which kind of makes the AI a little more formidable because we are not going to pick it. Um, the Vampire, the Sanguine Pact is something I almost never end up picking unless I'm like going all out war. But if I'm going playing a game for a war civilization for with like pretty much intent on fighting everybody, I'd keep secret societies turned off because um, yeah, it's may not be a fun way to play. So the real choice is between Owls of Minerva for gold and city state dominance, or with Hermetic Order. So the only reason I would pick this is if I'm leaning towards Hermetic Order. And as Korea, the science game is going to be strong. Um, so the Hermetic Order's science buff that will eventually follow, um, because we will have a good amount of great people in our empire. Um, Shit could be fun, so I'm going to keep that turned on. Let's set up the map. Now, because we are playing monopolies, or we are because we are playing barbarian clans, because and it's a wetlands map, I'm going to turn down the default civs from 12 to 5. Um, I mean, most clans will evolve into city states anyway, so this number is going to far exceed 12 before the game is done. But 5 is about a good number to start with. We'll see how this goes though. Disasters are fine normally, or as the normal 2 unit. Um, Resources. I've been playing many games with abundant resources and legendary starts, so I'm going to change that. I'm going to keep those constant. Um, I do want to play a game with sparse resources at some point, but maybe this is not the game for it. We'll find some other civ to run a sparse game or a sparse resources game with. Start position can be is legendary, and temperature can be standard. Rainfall, let's make it wet. Like it's a wetlands map, but let's make sure there is a lot of woodlands and greens around us. Lots of rivers and floodplains. And yeah, that's the setup. Let's see how the map looks.